My name is Elyssa. I'm 31. I'll be 32 this year. I'm originally from Florida. I've been in Denver, Colorado for about 7 years now. When I was younger, as a little girl, I would say I wanted to be a mom. I think every little girl does that, playing with their baby dolls. When I got older, after the age, I would say, of 3, it's not something that I wanted to do. My childhood that I had was probably one of the worst things imaginable. It's not something that I would wish on my worst enemy. My first pregnancy was at the age of 19. I had a boyfriend. We had our own place. My little brother lived with me. His friends were always older or over. And just found myself pregnant, doing adult things, playing house essentially. Unbeknownst to me, my boyfriend also had 2 other girlfriends, and we all got pregnant at the same time. My mom was very excited that I was pregnant. My sister was pregnant at the same time. I told my mom and my grandmother. Those are the only 2 people that I told. And my mom naturally thought that I was going to keep the baby. I don't think she thought that an abortion was an option for me. Growing up, we grew up Catholic, so there were certain things that were instilled in us that we don't do. When I came to the decision of keeping the baby or not keeping the baby, it was a matter of, did I really think I could do it? Did I really think I could do it on my own? Did I really want to be entrapped in this lifestyle for the next 18 or so years, however long it was going to be? Did I want my kid to be subject to the same abuse that I was subject to? Not by my hand, but by family members, by my mom. I'm not saying that my mom intentionally would hurt a baby or anything like that, but being older, kids get their own personality, develop their own things. If they say something that she didn't like, would they get backhanded? Or because I had to work, who was I gonna leave the baby with? Was I gonna trust a complete stranger at daycare? How am I gonna pay for daycare? How am I gonna pay for all of these expenses? How am I going to buy all the things that you need to buy? How are you gonna buy a crib? How are you gonna get a car seat? How are you gonna buy baby clothes? They grow constantly. How am I gonna be able to cycle through this and feed everything? When I was younger, I had a friend in middle school. She was pregnant in 8th grade. She went to Planned Parenthood for OB services. So I called them up, made an appointment, and went to that Planned Parenthood, and they didn't talk to me about any options. They didn't say, well, are you sure that you want to do this? They just said, okay, this is what you're here for. You're here for an abortion. Okay, check in. This is what we're gonna do. Go wait in the waiting room. I did not go by myself. My grandmother did come with me because when I was there, I was presented with 2 different options. I could go under anesthesia and do that way, or I could do the prescription one where they give me the pills and then do that. They told me the difference between the 2 is that if I were to go under, that I would have to come back and have a follow-up appointment. If I did the pills, they would just write me a prescription and I would leave. I would never have to come back. And that's what I did because I didn't want to go back. It was the most uneasy, settling feeling that I've ever had experienced just sitting in the waiting room. They did not prepare me at all for what was to come. They did make it seem like the prescription was the easier option, that I didn't have to go under, didn't have to have a medical procedure or anything like that. They just very much made it seem like, here's the prescription, follow the directions, and you're gonna be fine. Here are these pads, use these specific pads to gauge or monitor your flow or how much you're bleeding, and if you're exceeding this number of pads in an hour, give us a call. I remember being extremely nauseous. I don't think it was related to the pregnancy. They did give me a prescription for ibuprofen. I do remember being in a significant amount of pain. Even with the 800 milligram tablets of ibuprofen that they gave me, I was still in a lot of pain. I could not move. I could not get up on my own. I couldn't roll over. Once it kicked in and happened, I was stuck in my bed. There was no getting up. I couldn't even change the pads to check and see how much I was bleeding, which I was bleeding more than I should have been. So after the abortion or the termination, I was severely depressed. It was the worst decision that I have made in my life. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a right to choose whether or not you have an abortion, but I do feel like that there should be someone in your corner to really talk to you and say, hey, come alongside you. And how did you get here? How did you get to this decision? How are you sure this is the right decision? Any talk of resources if you want to keep the baby or even place the baby up for adoption, that was never discussed either as an option. It was just, are you going to have this procedure or are you going to take the pill? I was depressed for a very, very long time, and I swore to myself that if I ever found myself pregnant again, abortion would not be an option, no matter how bad my situation was, no matter how bad my outlook was. That was one of the worst things that I've ever experienced, and I've lost family members that I have grown up with. I've lost cousins and sisters and siblings that I have went through life with, and that was hard. Having the abortion and the aftermath of the abortion was one of the hardest things that I've done. I found myself pregnant again at, I believe, 25. I had my son, I just turned 26. Pregnant, in a stable relationship. We were living on our own. We were married. And it was just a blessing to be able to have a second chance and experience it again. After having my son, it was very, very, very joyful, very happy experience, but also it was kind of sad for me, just because if someone were to tell me back then what I know now, or giving me the right encouragement, or just encouragement in general, I don't think that I would have gone through with the abortion. So certain things make me a little bit sad, just knowing that that was a choice that I made, and that's something that I still have to carry. But since then, I have come to Christ and just basically surrendered all of my past, all of my future, all of my things that I've done to Him, and He's given me a great amount of peace, a great amount of joy, great amount of mercy and blessings. People don't really understand, I don't think, what it is to really walk through an abortion and try to come out the other side. I wish someone would have told me that there are perfect strangers that love you enough to be able to be there for you and give you the things that you never had, or give you the things that you need in that moment, but you only have to ask for help. It does take a village to be able to raise a family or raise a kid, but you have that village. You just have to ask. I would say no matter where any person goes, no matter what you've done, no matter how many abortions you may or may not have had, that it's never too late. It is never too late to turn around. It's never too late to pray. It's never too late to be able to just ask God to show you